on this week's episode of the Pit Crew podcast. Our thoughts on this weekend's British Grand Prix, our comparisons between our predictions and what happened in real life, and much more. Hello and welcome to the Pit Crew podcast. My name's Ed. My co-host is Dylan. And This weekend was the British Grand Prix. It was an okay race until the last 3 laps. And then we got more action than we could have ever hoped for in the actual 52 laps that we got. Tyres delaminating left, right and centre. Now, some of you may know that Channel 4 put it live, as they always do with the British Grand Prix. So that means we got to watch it live. I'm certainly glad I got to watch it live. Did you enjoy it, Dylan?
Yes, I enjoyed it very much. It was very exciting towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I was, almost jumped out of my chair at the end. It was really, really good. Now, so much cannot be said for our predictions. They weren't really, really good and exciting on the last 3 laps because there aren't laps in our predictions compared to the race. Now, for qualifying, I predicted Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Carlos Sainz and Alexander Albon. And what actually happened was Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris. I got 2 out of 5, 40%. That's a fail for me. Dylan, how did you get on? Did you pass the predictions test?
I went for Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Stroll, Lando, and I think
we got Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, so top 3, good, and Stroll and Lando. No, but
I got Lando fifth.
That's 80%. Wow, double me.
Pretty good.
That's a pretty good prediction. So
Ferrari got up there for once.
We're going to keep a tally of who does best, and at the end of this season, little prize, fictional prize, of course. We're not actually going to buy somebody a present. Oh, it will be Christmas, so you never know. It will be Christmas by the time it ends, so you never know. If people remind us, then we'll do that. The Lewis Hamilton spun in qualifying, which is an uncharacteristic mistake from the 6-time world champion, but fine. And he said tyres are okay over the radio, which is, I think, the first time he's ever said tyres are okay on a radio. But, new things happen every day. But the race is where everything happened. The race was, as we said, incredible. But first of all, we need to mark our scores for the podium. I predicted Hamilton, Bottas, Albon. Stop letting me down when I predict to give you podiums. We got Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, and that's 1 out of 3. It's 33%. I'm really not doing well this version of the podcast. Yeah.
I just got Hamilton.
Yeah, you went Bottas, Lando. Lando is a bold call, but no, Lando didn't do too bad. He got 5th. It's a decent point, 10 points, but quite good. The Renaults were up there though. That was a surprise for this weekend.
I was going to say that.
I was very surprised. Okay, no, you can have that as big a surprise coming later in the podcast. I'll let you steal that one. But that was impressive to see up there. We had 2 safety cars at the start of the race, one of which was for Albon on one, coming up the inside of Kevin, giving it a little punt and little kiss on the wheels, and spinny Kevin, and he becomes a tricycle. Now, what do you think about that incident, Dylan? I personally think probably a racing incident. I don't see anyone at fault. They both seem to just be taking a line. Dylan, any opinion on that?
I think I kind of disagree, because Albon, he left Kevin a lot of room, and he just didn't take the room, so he just closed into Albon, so I think it's Kevin's fault. But
that's interesting.
From what I saw, that's what I think.
I think vaguely a racing incident. And then we had a safety car, I think, about lap 12, was it? Lap 12, 13? Because Kvyat had a little incident in the
Rear
Magnussen
puncture.
Beckett's complex. Rear puncture. He apologised to his team and then punched a cameraman. But I really don't think there was much of fault from Kvyat. I don't think he needed to apologise. Punctures were punctures, and they happened a lot in that race. Pirelli, I think, have come up with a statement saying that the long final stint and the biggest forces ever seen on tyres was what led to the failures. So, I don't think Kvyat should have apologised for that. It was a hard impact though, wasn't it, Dylan? It was quite a scary shunt.
It was quite bad.
Yeah, it was quite a scary shunt. Now, as we've said, the race was a race of two halves. It was, okay, yeah, this is decent racing. Got some good midfield battles. Had some safety cars. Strategy is a bit boring. Everyone's doing a one-stop. Couple penalties. Not many, not much. It was just,
illegal
okay.
blocking.
Yeah, a bit of Grosjean being like, ahem, no, you're not going down there. I mean, if that's classed as illegal blocking, I'd hate to see what they do about me on the F1 game. But
it was a bit late.
but the Grosjean moving across, he was clearly a bit grumpy. Kimi was a bit grumpy. Did you hear that radio when they were like, box, stay out, and he was already like halfway in the pit lane.
Yes. They weren't watching the race.
Yeah. It was just funny. It's just sad to see a world champion down there, but he's 40 now.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go this season. It's sad to say, but I think he's going to go. That is an idea for a future video. 2021 lineup predictions. I know lots of other people have done that, but jump on the bandwagon and all that.
Earlier.
Anyway, on with it. Write that down, as they say. On with our script. Biggest disappointment of the race. I mean, I could come out and say a really strange one in that up to lap, I think 47 or 48, it was a bit disappointing in that it just wasn't very exciting. Or I could say something like the Racing Points not doing very well. I think, though, to top it all off, that Alfa Romeo's not doing very well. Williams, yet again, each time I hope for it, not doing some points.
They did better.
But I think the biggest disappointment for me was Hulkenberg not even starting. The luck never is with this man. He hasn't got a podium. He's the man with the record for not getting a podium and having the most number of race starts, which isn't the best stat to have. And then, he gets the call Thursday afternoon in Germany, going to do some presenting for some sort of racing, and then comes over, stays up to 2 a.m. on Friday morning to do his seat fit, and then they can't start the car. They just can't start the car. I was so disappointed when I heard that. Dylan, what disappointed you the most this weekend?
Carlos Sainz didn't have a great finish because of his puncture.
That'd be pretty gutting for him because he could have got 10 points and almost, I think, basically over doubled McLaren's point haul, which as a McLaren fan, not the best thing to know, but we still got 5th. It's not bad.
Still 10 points, yeah.
Right, yeah, it was
better than nothing.
Yeah, biggest surprise. Now, Dylan, I'm going to let you go first. Have pick of the bunch as I went first last time. Pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but off you go. What's your biggest disappointment?
You mean surprise?
Ah, yes. Surprise.
Our biggest surprise.
Edit that out.
Is seeing the Renaults actually being pretty high with Ricciardo finishing 4th, which is very good for him.
Yes. Now I have
and
something.
And Ocon also finishing 6th.
Yeah, the Renaults did very well. 12 and 8. They got 20 points. That would have, I think, considerably boosted them in the constructors' standings. Anyway, I'll check that later. My biggest surprise, I'm about to say disappointment again, there was Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri getting 7th place. He had a cracking race. He had some great overtakes I think it was in the middle of the race. We had drstrain.com, to quote Matt Gallagher, don't actually look that up. I don't know if it's an actual website, but they were all just going in a DRS train, so nothing really happened. But at the end of the race, I think he passed Vettel in a Ferrari, which is something you'd never see a Toro Rosso, or what is now an AlphaTauri, seeing to do. Vettel's former team, the team he started with, got their only win for being passed by what should be a supremely better car. But yeah, Pierre Gasly, 7th place, 6 points for AlphaTauri. Yeah, biggest surprise of the weekend for me. And I'm just going to have a look at the standings before we move on to see how AlphaTauri are. They are 7th and they've got 13 points, and Pierre Gasly got them 6. So Gasly got them about nearly half their points in that race. So yes, it did considerably boost them in the constructor standings. Williams still sitting on 0 though. Come on, Williams, you can do better than this. Anyway, moving on. What do we think of the race? Was it good? Was it bad? Dylan, I'm going to say it was good. Up to laps in the late 40s wasn't so good. Maybe would have gone medium or bad, but all that drama at the end, Max possibly getting away with a good win. I'm going to go good race. And what were your best and favourite moments in that race? Couple of mine. I'd say coming round, as people may or may not know, I'm not a Hamilton fan, but the commentators cutting onto Bottas's punctured car and saying that's Hamilton, and I was just like, oh yes, it is all coming together. And then I saw the number 77 on the car, and I was like, damn. And then I was sitting there hoping, and then it actually cut to Hamilton, and he got a puncture. I was like, yes.
But then it happened to Carlos.
Yeah, that was a good moment. The midfield. The midfield, a bit half-halves. And the midfield battle, that was some good moments. Pierre Gasly helping that, get rid of the DRStrain.com. The safety cars, they were some good moments. Of course, the restarts were okay. There wasn't as much chaos as I may have hoped. But Dylan, best moments for the race?
Best moment probably, well, the mid part of the race was probably more interesting. The
mid part of the race was interesting if you watched the midfield.
Yes.
What I would have been...
Bring it.
Yeah, the ending got
it. More interesting.
Mega better. Mega better, if that's even a phrase. That's not grammatically
Much
correct.
better.
But mega better. It's mega better. It was a good race. And moving on to a new segment. Fictional ideas for the race. What would you have liked to seen happen if you could have had control? Things I would have liked to seen happen in hindsight. Bottas, because Hamilton got a really bad start. I would have liked to have seen Bottas get him on the start, pull a bit of a lead, and have Hamilton chasing him down for the rest of the race. That could have made for a really exciting finish, especially if punctures came to one or both of them. And they were in a close gap. That could have made it really exciting. Dylan, have you got any fantasies that you would have liked?
Just more side-to-side racing, like Hamilton Bottas did last year.
Safety car restarts would have been, nice.
Hamilton was just too quick on that.
A prolonged Leclerc and Verstappen battled a little bit, but like a prolonged battle like last year, that would have been nice to see. And also to have actually told Verstappen, no, don't pit, because that would have been amazing. To come through on the final lap, get him. That would have been quite cool to see, especially as I'm not a Hamilton fan. And Verstappen was getting very bored in the race, as we heard on his radio when he was telling his engineer to drink. And another funny moment was I would have liked to have seen taken a bit more of a thing, if we're still sticking with the fantasy moments. Grosjean not just stalling in his pit box, but accidentally turning off the car and having to retire from the race, because I don't know if anyone else noticed, but he did actually stall in his pit box, which, it's just the Grosjean way. The Grosjean way. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. It has been a cracking race this weekend at the British GP. We will be back probably over the next couple of days for the predictions for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, which I found out the reason why they call them that was not to avoid confusion from the fans. And it's actually because they don't want to have two names, the same name on two different trophies, because it could do confusion with trophy giving. Apparently that's the reason. Anyway, that's only rumor that I've heard in reading articles. Anyway, that brings us to the end of what I think may have been the longest episode of the Pit Crew we've ever recorded. I don't know. I don't get to see how long these are until we stop it, but I hope you have enjoyed. I've been Dylan.
And I've been what?
I just said I've been Dylan. We are sticking that in the video, and I'm going to let the whole world hear that because that's funny. Don't edit that out.
You've been
I've
Ed.
been Ed.
And I've been Dylan.
Goodbye. Oh,
Goodbye.
before we stop,
Oh,
make sure to check out the other person's channel. It would really help us get some more views.
Yes.
You always want the views. Anyway, I've been Dylan. Goodbye.
you said it again.